Child Shifted and Reunification, a layered Black girl autoethnography. For many African Caribbean families, the issues of separation, loss, and traumatic reunion has become a taboo subject, resulting in a ruptured, hurt, and wounding silence. Boylorn argues that as a Black woman, I must do the homework of self-construction, absent from the influence of a racist, classist, and misogynistic culture. Nevertheless, this self-representation as an act of activism is an edited and tidier version of a self, in which the rough edges have been to some extent smoothed and conflicting aspects of the trauma are presented now as fully understood and glossed over in the re-editing. I hope this autoethnography reveals other ways of knowing and knowledge production that challenge normative discourse, creating a space for listening to and understanding an other's lived experience, and offering the transformative potential of moving away from processes of othering towards a universal place of common humanity. Holding my experiences of oppression as only part of my reality, I was forced, while writing this account, to take a deep look at my own unique psychology and evaluate my social class and political position in relations to race, Black, and managing. I needed to address these experiences in relations to the imperatives of significant historical moments from both my childhood and professional life, and to review their impact on my sense of identity. As I write, other voices arising from my history and positioning make themselves heard. They remind me that some may find my reflections of gender, race, and class uncomfortable. They suggest that some of my reflections appear to position me as a victim. I purposely push back against my internalized Eurocentric trained therapist voice, which renders the Black person invisible as it accuses and suggests that I shut up, or admit that I'm suffering from a persecution complex. In order not to fit this familiar category of the Black person with a chip on their shoulder, or worse, a victim, should I simply deny my everyday experience of gendered racism? And if so, at what cost to my mental and physical health? Even in my professional life, I have had to resist these voices. As a professional, I have had to negotiate my way through the intertwining strands of racism and sexism at several work settings. Working in the charity sector, what is considered the groundbreaking teen parent project I designed, developed, and managed is visited by the Minister of Health. On meeting the all-Black team members, he praises us for the progress we are making, and speaking directly to me throughout says, "If only we could bottle this success." Suddenly I hear the white female CEO mumble something that immediately reclaims the project as her property, effectively reminding me and the team that as Black workers, we are not equal to the white workers and don't really belong in the boardroom. I stand there dazed, like a mother who has had her child snatched from her, like a mother being told she has no right to the child she gave birth to. The boardroom comes into sharp relief, with portraits of its lineage, powdered and wigged white slave owners lining the wall. Its heavy, dark furniture and draped curtains and thick, piled carpet demonstrating the wealth from its slavery past. Only a few months earlier, being interviewed in this room, I had simply read the location as the organization's version of a posh room, like my parents' front room at home, decorated with all our best ornaments, a room simply there to impress and entertain our friends. Now, as I stand here, I understand the boardroom as the symbolic representation of this organization's white upper classes, a place where they exercise their power, a place where the wives of husbands who work in the city can lord it over the white middle and working classes and blacks. Despite the success of the project and the positive feedback on its achievement, the all-white senior management team considers my management style unorthodox. I am viewed with suspicion and envy. I am aware I have hit a very low glass ceiling, and my dreams of progression in this tight-knit circle is now close to me. I have been nobbled, and I will be pushed out of the domain of the white management classes. I became a psychotherapy consultant. I attend numerous public debates and conferences relating to policy development opportunities for young black women, where I witness these same white women acting as the authority on the black experience. A therapeutic community will surely be different. I am a participant at an interdisciplinary conference whose aims are to examine how trauma is carried from one generation to the next and to assess the potential for psychotherapeutic interventions to heal the intergenerational trauma experienced by individuals and communities. What I witness here is only minimal recognition among the predominantly white middle-class panel of the impact of the Black Holocaust, the inherited trauma of slavery and colonialism. There is an unexamined Eurocentric outlook which unconsciously marginalizes the British black experience and gags the voices of those concerned. Through a kind of casualization of our ongoing trauma, a trauma that manifests in a range of naturalized psychosocial limitations that are structural in origin, included in relation to inequality, social exclusion, direct racial discrimination, discriminatory abuse, poverty, unemployment, insecure housing, and compulsory detention. In an otherwise reverential and solemn debate about trauma, a white psychologist, as part of her presentation of her experience of working with a desperate African Caribbean mother, to add a little light relief, she makes a humorous comment about the failing of the social services in a high-profile case that ended in tragedy. The black British experience has not featured in the debate so far, but the black client in this well-known case is now casually laughed at and belittled by an esteemed audience of caring professionals. I squirm with discomfort that this white woman's sense of entitlement is so strong that she's unconscious of her own otherness, and how from her position of white privilege she has shown no respect for the black female client or for the black participants attending the conference. Later, with no sense of irony, we are reminded by another white panelist that we should be mindful of a conspiracy of silence around race, and that as professionals we are part of this conspiracy if we do not challenge our own attitude and those of others. I feel burdened by the conflict between challenging their unconsciously colonialistic position and once more putting myself and my community in the familiar position of being the problem that just will not go away. The 10 black participants at the conference, including myself, went on to form a subgroup where we discussed our experiences as black psychotherapists and how this conference, as a microcosm of society, had mirrored many of the issues of alienation and psychological oppression endured by our black clients. As participants, we had witnessed the one black panelist being what can only be described as attacked and rubbished by her fellow clinical professionals who claimed, for example, that black issues are no longer relevant since they have been subsumed into the generalized BAME category. Visibly shaken by the verbal assault, she had slipped on the stairs as she left the stage in an example of what Jungians would see as a physical manifestation of having been knocked off her feet. Later, she reflected on her experience by writing her reflections that echoed mine as a participant. I am always afraid that I will be attacked rather than supported when I am in the minority, and although I know this is not always true, my trauma speaks. Writing this paper has been a way of debriefing after being on a panel at the end of the conference day, where I experienced my own alienation, gagging and being silenced by white voices surrounding me. She struck a more affirming note in concluding her reflections. I also have great hopes that each vibrant response offers us all an opportunity to progress the trauma attached to black issues. I felt disappointment rather than outrage that after decades, we as a people are still on the fringes of decision making in every political aspect of our lives. However, instead of the familiar shame, I now had a sense of pride. We had validated and contributed to our own debate through this, had made ourselves visible to ourselves. We had revealed to each other ways of knowing that challenge normative discourses, but there is a long way to go, and the risk of silence or being silenced within processes of professional knowledge construction remains.